Welcome to the Consistent Profits Podcast, brought to you by Brian McAvoy and Inside Out Trading, because trading success comes from the inside out. Visit InsideOutTrading.com, where we focus on you, the trader, because you are the most important part of your trading. When you get the right coaching, trading becomes easy. Visit InsideOutTrading.com. And now, on to the podcast. Hello, everybody. This is Brian McAvoy with a new episode of the Consistent Profits Podcast. I'm excited today to be interviewing Nishant Porbanderwalla, Equity Manager at the Kershner Trading Group. Thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, glad you're here, man. For those of you not already familiar with Nishant, he's had a more focused career than many traders, while still one with a lot of experiences, stories, and lessons. He went to college at the University of Texas at Austin and then went to work for the Kershner Trading Group. And that's where he's been ever since. Nishant, thanks again for being here, man.
Thanks again, Brian. I went to UT, a true Longhorn. I still live in Austin. So I've seen actually Austin grow the way, now the whole California has moved here. But before that, I've been living here for 23 years. So it's nice.
Yeah. Texas has been a popular place for the last few years with all the craziness going on. Yeah.
For sure. Like I feel like we got discovered again in COVID.
Oh, yeah, true. Well, now, so as far as when you went to school, you started with a bachelor's degree in economics, right? And then you also had liberal arts in the School of Liberal Arts, economics and finance, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, so with your, so was it more really the economics focus or more on the finance end of it? I ask because a lot of people also that get into trading are, they're in the finance, some in economics. So which would you say was probably the majority of the influence on you, or where did you find your area of strength?
I don't know if this answer is going to be good for most people. I was never good to go to college, to be honest. So the easiest degree was economics. I used to like finance, so in my life, I kind of found out very early that if I'm passionate about something, I do really well at it. If I'm not, then I do really bad at it. So the finance classes, all that was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it. But I didn't enjoy accounting. I enjoyed numbers. I enjoyed finance. My father was always in the stock market too. I used to manage his portfolio a little bit out here. And so I think that's where I was intrigued by I want to be a portfolio manager. That's what you have your dreams. You don't know how to go about it, but you're like, oh yeah, I want to be a portfolio manager. I want to buy all these stocks. I want to make this perfect portfolio, which is going to go up and beat at the S&P and everything.
Mhm.
So I kind of managed my father's portfolio, and that's how I got interested in trading as such. I didn't know what day trading was, which is I think a great way to start, because if you don't know anything about it, you don't have any bad habits. And back in the day also, day trading was not such a popular profession as it's today. I see a lot, because of Twitter and, these glory stories everywhere. A lot of people want to become day traders, especially, during COVID when, you could make so much money so quickly. They thought this profession is, for everyone, but it's really not for everyone. It's a really hard profession.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Um, well, so you knew before, was it before you went to school, or sometime during your term in
I
college?
would say during my 4 years in school, I said I want to do something in the stock market. Now, I didn't know where to start and how to start and where to go. Uh, I just tried to like chaperone a portfolio manager in Austin. Uh, it didn't really work out. I was like, he was managing my dad's portfolio, so he helped. He said, okay, why don't you come and help me out? But it's very different. I was like, it seems like a very, job where you sit and you talk and you convince people which stocks to buy. I said, that's not what I want to do. Uh, uh, Coincidentally, I was, the business school, Kershner Trading came by, and I went and spoke to the guy, and I think one of the biggest things that you need in trading is passion.
Mhm.
And so this guy saw a lot of passion. He said, why don't you come to the office? So I went to the Kershner office, and all these computers, and it looked like, it looked like a war zone in a way. Like everyone's like talking and screaming, and someone's angry, someone's happy. I was like, wow, what is this? And that intrigued me, and I was like, oh, I want to try this out. And but I also knew At that time, it was a lot of these cold calling jobs. I was like, I hope this is not one of those. So I kind of figured out it was not one of those. It was, go trade, and if you make money, you take some home, and that's it. And I was like, okay. But what I love the most about it is that sky is the limit, right? And in a proprietary trading firm like Kershner, like, your downside is kind of limited because they take the risk of giving you the money, and your upside is unlimited because you can make as much money as you can. And
Mhm.
so I like that the amount of work you put in, that's the amount of profit you make.
Very cool. When you were first talking about the room and you saw everybody yelling and screaming, it's like so was it kind of a Wolf of Wall Street experience or
I wish there were no women. No, there are no women in trading, and unfortunately, so there was no Wolf of Wall Street kind of experience. But we used to have people, who'd go out late in the night and walk in at 7 in the morning for trading, and, like, they've been partying all night. So we had a lot of that. But I was a kid that time. But all the older traders were partying all night and walking in at like 7 a.m. and start trading the morning session.
Now, so when they brought you on board, you were actually, I mean, and still are, you're like an employee of the company though, right?
Correct. Yeah, we all, like, employees of the company, right? We share a split, a profit, and they take the losses. And if you lose too much, you get fired.
So now, do they work typically of other trading groups, and if so, one of my big curiosities was being a trader working for a firm. Um, that's kind of cool, and not very many people. I mean, it's a real small percentage of the population that winds up in that kind of a role. I was curious what their onboarding was like, and if they want you to trade a certain way, or if they're pretty flexible. So when they brought you on board, what was it like?
So they are very flexible. You can pretty much do whatever you want, the way you want it. The way when I started, they kind of, there's a coach or a mentor, and you're his student, and he kind of teaches you his strategy, or you look at his strategy, and, you figure it out, and, he kind of helps you figure it out. And once you feel like you're comfortable that, you're trading on your own, and, there's still your mentor throughout your career, and he gets a certain percentage of the company's profit that you make.
Hmm.
So that's how it works. It becomes like, which is what I tell everyone who wants to come in this profession, that if you really want to learn, then you got to sit next to someone, and that's the only way you can learn how to day trade. I don't think anyone can help you via Insta or via Twitter or all these things. You have to sit there because it's very easy to come and say, listen, this is where I sold the stock. This is where I bought the stock. I'm like, anyone can say that, but between this and that, what emotions did you go through? How many times did you panic sell? How many times did you, think that this was the wrong decision? That's what you need to learn. It's very easy once the trade's over, like, oh yeah, this trade is perfect. I I bought it out here, I sold it out here. Yeah, but did you feel like selling it out here, and why didn't you sell it out here? Those are the questions that you need to keep telling the person who's sitting next to you, that, hey, this is my strategy, why I'm doing this, why I'm not doing that. I think so. For me, I think that was, for me, my coach was the biggest reason for me to move up. And then, we have this, because it's a firm, it's a lot of other traders. You talk to them, you learn from them, you see something, you add something, becomes your own strategy after a while. You fine tune things a little bit different than the person next to you. And that becomes, a trade in the long run.
Okay. Well, as far as your strategy, and not to ask you to give up anything proprietary, but just in general, with your with your trading, again, generally speaking, um, are you somewhat of a discretionary trader where you're pretty flexible and responding to what the markets are presenting you, or are you more methodical and mechanical and you're looking for specific things and you got a very specific process that you go through as far as placing and managing trades?
I would say more discretional. Basically, I look at what is moving in the market, right? I mean, today is what, 14th, right? 14th February today. The last 2 days, small caps have been going a little crazy, which is what I expected for a while, because the market's all-time highs. Usually when markets are all-time highs, there's nothing else to buy. it's the shittiest stocks that go up, which is what is happening right now. So then I'm trading small caps right now. Uh, if something else is what I kind of trade anything that moves, and
Okay.
that's my strategy. If it's moving, I'm trading it. Which direction to go and why to go and when to go is the game.
Gotcha.
Which, if someone tells me to explain them, I cannot explain. You have to sit next to me. I have to talk to you as and when that's happening. And then, if you can figure it out from there on, great. If you can't, I don't know. You got to go with your own 10,000 hours of trading to figure out what is your strategy, what works for you. For me, it's a very fast pace. I'm like in and out of stuff very quickly. I'm trying to make quick money. I'm trying to manage my losses. For someone else, that might be a too quick a strategy. Like, if I make someone sit next to me and they see me doing like, hey, I'm not getting anything what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, it's become second nature to me because I've just done the 10,000 hours. It's just like the hands and the fingers move automatically. And why they move and how they move is AI, you know. And these are data sets that are there in my head, which I don't know if they're there or no, but they're there. And I'm somehow, catching every data set that I've seen before, this pattern, that pattern that I've seen before. I'm using that and trading off it. Even I don't know from where it's coming.
Gotcha. Well, but you had the advantage of managing your dad's portfolio for a while. Um,
Yeah, but that was, more like, buying Microsoft and like seeing what it's doing. It was just more on a very basic level,
right.
like any other person, would manage a portfolio like your long-term portfolio. But it
Right.
just got me interested at least in stocks.
Well, and it got you familiar with the environment. Uh,
Correct.
and then when they brought you on board, they had you working with a trader. So and you were like with them like all the time, right? Um,
Correct.
So yeah, that's good. Now, with that kind of an environment where yeah, you've got like a full-time mentor. If somebody else were to step into the same situation, or when people are coming on board with the company, how long how long does it usually take for somebody to get proficient enough where they can stand on their own 2 feet and start trading on their own?
Honestly, if you're a normal person, I would say it takes about 18 months.
Okay.
But it also depends what kind of market it is, right? In a COVID market in 2020, 2021, you could be there much quicker because it's much easier at times, the liquidity on both ends and this and that.
Mhm.
Uh, but in markets like this, it's much harder. I would say it takes 18 months to be a trader where, you feel like, okay, I can sit here and I can trade stocks.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying you can make money, but you know, you stop losing money at least.
Right. Um,
So,
Now, have you always worked strictly with stocks, or have you ventured into some of the other arenas like crypto or forex or futures?
So I mean, I'll trade crypto through GBTX or IBIT and these new ETFs, but not really my scene as such. I'll trade them as stocks, but yeah, I'll do a little bit of options, but my primary bread and butter is equities.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, since you've been at it for a while and you said you are managing the company's money, what is like a typical trade size for you? Just like as far as how much you're putting at risk out there on a typical trade.
So at Kershner, once you reach a certain level, capital really doesn't become a constraint as such. So I've
Mhm.
never had a capital constraint as such. I'm always good in amount of, they give me enough capital that I need.
Right.
Um, so usually I don't even look at things like how much I'm risking at times. It's about what's the opportunity that is in front of me. And if it's, a great setup, then, you're going to risk it. It just depends how great a setup it is. And that's how, I've always been. It's like, if the market is not there, it's not ready to give, I don't snatch. But if the market is happening, I'll snatch. And that means, me being more aggressive, me being, you can make a lot more mistakes in a good market and, that's fine because there's so many good trades happening. But in a bad market or in a bear market or in a market where liquidity is a problem, you're going to make very less mistakes. So then I'm like, I only try to do best setups that I can find. I won't go for anything and everything around.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's good enough. Yeah, I was just curious, since you've got the time on, because you've been there for quite a while now. I mean, you're rolling up on 20 years.
Yeah. 2006. So yeah, it's been a long time. I've seen the flash crash. I've seen the 2008 crash. I've seen, yeah, the COVID. It's been fun times.
Well, what have been some of the more memorable experiences that you've had? Any particular days or like, maybe short periods where it was particularly noteworthy?
Oh yeah, so many, right? Before I start that, I always tell this to most people who are traders for a long period of time and why this profession is so good is that every 5 years you get a nice bonus, and every 10 years you get retirement money. So if you're there for this period, you'll get those big bonuses. The other years you just have to like make, enough money where you can survive. So so just like that, I mean, 2008 was one of those years where, I just started trading and, honestly, I've never seen panic like that before. I've never seen thereafter. It honestly felt like at some point that the world is coming to an end. Some nights, when things were going bankrupt and, we are like, oh, the whole financial system is going to go away. Uh, and those are one of the craziest times, but I wasn't experienced enough to take advantage of it uh, like the way I am today. Uh, and if I was, I guess I would be retired by now if those markets ever come back. They were much illiquid also, so things moved a lot more and they came back much faster.
Mhm.
A lot of other stuff that was happening. There was so much happening at that moment. And it was the first big crash after, I think, 2000. So which I had not seen. So for me, it was like, oh my God, what is happening out here? It felt like the world is coming to an end. After that, I think 2014, I think was the big flash crash where China devalued their currency and the market, I think, gapped down about 600-700 points, which was, I think, about 3.5-4%. I think we went limit down on options overnight. Uh, and then it opened and I think, just flashed down, I think, in the first 15-20 minutes, about 400-500 points in probably 20 minutes. And I guess a lot of stocks had no idea how to manage that kind of, I think high frequency trading was just getting in and they just pulled all their bids out and there was really no liquidity. And like, I think I remember like Home Depot falling 40-50 points on that day for that 20 minutes. Um, so those were that day obviously is one of my best days ever in my history of trading. I won't forget that. And then I think the COVID times, I think, if you fast forward to that, so 2008, 2014, and 2020. So, every 6-7 years you get something where, if you don't take advantage of it and if you have the experience, you will do well on those markets, right? And 2020 was one of those time and COVID just came and, just created, again, you feel like the world is coming to an end. All those times you felt like the world's coming to an end. And, obviously those are the best times to really invest money in. And for a day trader, it was just, yeah, it was a lot of opportunities all day. I think those 2 years, I think I've worked harder than I've ever worked in my 15, 20 years career. I was waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, start the pre-market trading, and I would stop at like 7 in the evening when the post market would be done. And it was just nuts. I would like sit with my son after that and do puzzles because I had to get out of that zone because you're in that zone for a long period of time, and then you're sleeping, you're dreaming of stocks and dreaming of what's going to happen tomorrow and what's so it gets a lot. And I'm glad like it only lasted for 2 years, though I was making good amount of money. But I don't know, I could have, I think it took about 2-3 years of my life for sure. the,
Right.
the stress and the white hair and everything started coming.
Yeah. Well, now, so that's when we're in kind of the wild times. What's
Yeah.
a typical day for you now under quote unquote normal conditions?
Normal conditions are, I wake up at like 6:30, start looking, at the market, see what are the news. I'll go on Twitter, see what's happening. I follow a bunch of, accounts and I try to see, what they are saying. I'll come to my computer at 7:30, maybe start trading at 8:30 out here in Austin. So I'll see what is moving, I have like tickers now saying, what is, what is moving and what is not, and, what's happened. So just a very simple overview of what's happened overnight. Um, and then, I'll just be very organic with my trading. I don't have any pre-planned notions. I will just see what my tickers are showing and, what I see and trade off that. And if the market is happening, then great. If it's not happening, then, trade for the first hour and a half, 2 hours. I'll have my YouTube or my Netflix on one of my screens, and I'll watch my main screen and see if anything comes up. If something comes up that I like, I'll trade it. Otherwise, I won't touch it. And then I'll, switch off my Netflix and YouTube and, trade the last 1 hour, just looking at my screen.
Huh. So how long are you typically in a trade?
Typically in the trade these days, probably maybe 30 minutes, 20 minutes.
So you're working on like the 1 minute or 3 minute charts, 5 minute charts?
My favorite chart is five.
Okay.
So I'll have my five in multiple ways, but I also have a 1 minute, a daily, and a weekly. But five is my favorite. That's what I look at the most.
Okay. So when you say the markets, you're just kind of looking at what's going on in the markets. So you're looking for moving markets. You want to jump on a trend, correct?
Yeah, I'm usually shorting a trend. Usually shorting things that are going parabolic. That's what you're waiting for. Now everything doesn't go parabolic. Some stuff will go parabolic, and you got to manage risk on that and
Right.
get in the right time at the right place. But some other stuff, which, for example, if some shitty Chinese stock is moving up, a lot of other Chinese stocks start moving up, and you start trading those instead of trying to trade the mothership.
Okay.
So we'll trade a lot of that kind of stuff. I do some reverse splits. I'll do imbalances at the open and close. Um, yeah, anything that's moving on that day, to be honest.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, do you have an automated scanner that's collecting stuff for you, or you do most of your stuff
Correct.
looking manually?
Correct. Yeah, we have an in-house scanner of that is proprietary, and we kind of have our ideas, and someone has coded those ideas in, and we see those stickers show up that we have programmed.
Mhm.
Uh, and so as those stickers show up, I'll have a look at it myself and then make a decision. Do I like this? Do I not like it? If I don't like it, I won't trade it. If I like it, I'm like, do I like it at this price? Do you think I need to wait for some more indications to show up that looks, more juicy? So I'm like, listen, if it goes to this price, alert me and I'll have a look at this again. So that's how we go about.
Cool. Cool. So you're working primarily off price action, correct?
Yeah, pretty much price action. Uh, like today, I'm trading the stock called CETY, uh, and that's why we have to move this interview a little bit. I was trying to short this for a while, but this is a new pattern that's been coming up where you know there's small things you got to see because these are algos that are changing constantly with market conditions, right? They don't want anyone to figure their algos out, so they keep changing it. Now, I don't know if they're using AI or what they're using and who is doing this and how they're doing it. I don't have idea of that, but they make these subtle changes, and if you can start looking at that, and sometimes it takes one day to figure out like, oh, this is what is the new trend that they've started, where they might halt something down and the next halt will be up. Usually, they used to do it a halt down and they would halt down for 3 or 4 times. But now they're not doing that. So I'm like, okay, so they've changed the trend, I need to adjust to that. So, these are small things I think that come with experience and, looking at the market for so many years, you start seeing these small things that all goes are doing to change and, trap you.
Yeah. Well, um, one thing that you and I talked about briefly before we started the actual interview is how challenging trading is anyway. With the advent of, I mean, now algorithmic trading has been around for a little while. Um, not as long as trading, of course, but with the algos and the markets used to be primarily people, and then there were a lot of algorithms running on the markets, So then when it's, people and algorithms, but now we've also got AI coming into play.
Correct.
Um, what would be your advice for somebody that is, thinking about getting into trading because they hear, they'll see the YouTube videos and they've got the, 20-year-old with the, the Lambos and
The
these.
Lambos, yeah. Yeah, don't follow them. Life isn't always that great, right? The
Yeah.
struggles are there, and it's good if someone gives you both sides of the coin, which is what I like to give to most traders that talk to me. Is like, listen, it's a very hard profession. It's not for everyone. Uh, but if you enjoy what you do, like I have a friend, she used to work. She worked for Google. She said, I'm done with my corporate job. She's like, hey, I want to try trading. I said, you know what? It's very hard. But if you want to try it, try it. You have, a decent capital, where you don't have to go back. Uh, so it's not a bad time to try it out, but it's going to be very difficult. And she, as she's going through the grind right now, she is telling me like, oh my God, it's so much harder than my corporate job. Even though I'm like, don't lose money, these small things like, start small, learn from, your mistakes, but again, I'm trying to, it's very hard to teach anyone trading through a phone call or through Zoom or anything. You have to have someone sitting right next to you that can feel the emotions and the things that you're going through at that moment, right? Um, and sometimes, in trading, there's you did everything right, and the outcome is still a negative P&L, and that's fine, and that's something which people have to understand that if you did everything right, if you manage your risk right, sometimes someone else also has to win. Uh, so I kind of take that also as something that I learn over time is that did I do everything right? What could I have changed? And the thing with trading is that it's an ever learning job, right? It's like there's never a time when you can conquer the market saying, you know what, now I know everything. And that's the last day you're ever going to trade because you're going to lose it all in one trade then. So for me, it's very important to tell people like, do not lose. Don't be that stubborn where you lose your entire bankroll in one trade, and there have been trades like this where I have lost a lot of money, but I've never lost that much that my career has ended, so, I mean, a lot of people's career ended on this trade called HKD, which was, there a few years ago. There's many of the GMEs. There is, all those trades where people have ended their career on it because, it's like, it's a bad stock, it's worth nothing, but at the same time, you can get wiped out before they do. So you have to manage risk.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and the main reason I was asking, it's one thing that I really try to impress upon people is, and as you were talking about, like just the way you are and with your time in, how a lot of it's become second nature. Obviously, you've had a lot of time and you had some good mentoring early on, but
Yeah,
you've also you very much focused on honing your skills.
yeah,
And I really try to impress upon everybody, it's not about, there is no magic strategy that, you can take an amateur and hand them that strategy and they're going to be a great trader. This is a game of skill and you have to develop the skills.
yeah,
And well, the thing is with, algos and now with AI and like you're talking about, where they're making changes almost daily. I mean, it's a competitive environment anyway. Everybody's out here to make money.
yeah,
And you're competing against like firms like your company, big banks, a
yeah,
lot of institutional traders, and who've got a lot of resources, a lot of smarts, a lot of access
yeah,
to intelligence and that kind of stuff. And so that really only makes it all that more important to make sure that you're getting good at this and not just relying on being clever and with some clever strategy or whatever. So I was glad to hear you talking about yeah, all your time in. And now, do you also mentor anybody else when they're coming on board with the company? Are you one of the mentors now, or are you still just kind of working on your own?
no, I still work on my own. I've had students in the past through Kershner, and somehow it's just things never worked out. Maybe I'm not a great teacher, but it's a tough profession, right? I mean, I mean, I don't know what, 6 or 7 or 8 people make it in this profession. So I've had 8 students and only I think one has made it. So I'm right on average out there. But, I'll have people message me and, show me their charts or, this and that. But but it's never the right way of, I can't mentor anyone. I don't want to like just mentor someone remotely. If someone is local and can sit with me
Right.
and, go through the grind with me, while I am trading, I'll just keep talking and tell you what I'm seeing and why I'm seeing and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. That's, I think, priceless. If I can sit with some other trader and, and if they can, say the same thing, that's amazing because I can get a different point of view, the way they're looking at things. So I
Mhm.
think for all traders who want to learn to trade, I think if you can sit with someone who is an experienced trader, who has traded before, and just ask them to talk as they see things, you know, just keep talking and, saying, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this chart. I feel like this offer, this bid has changed. Look at the way this guy is manipulating out here. I don't know, he might see something else. And, that's my best part is like getting a new person inside. They see something totally different because your eyes are so used to looking at the same places that
Mhm.
a new person, when they come in, they see something totally different. They open your eyes sometimes. So having a student, the only reason for me would be that they bring something different that I don't see.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I also feel like in this day and age that you need to know how to code to a certain level at least.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Doing things completely manually can. It's interesting. I heard this one guy. He was speaking in general business terms, but he was
Yeah.
saying, when the internet came around, for people who didn't get on board with that, it was almost like you're trying to run a marathon and the guy next to you is on a bicycle. He said
Yeah.
with AI, you're trying to run a marathon and the guy sitting next to you, he's in a car.
Yeah.
So you got to get on board with, what, current.
He's in an electric car where you can just go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, times are changing and it's always going to change. And, but there's certain things that never will change, as a trader is managing risk, managing risk reward. Those are things that will never change. The way the way you psychologically behave when you lose money and then the psychologically behave when you make money. Like
Mhm.
those two things, is something that you need to learn how to manage. And a lot of these things just come with time. You need to have a big loss. I've had a big loss. I've come back from that and you're a different person after that. And I've had really big days and not make any money after that for 3, 4 months. And I've, felt that void also. Like, you feel like you're on top of the world and the next day the market brings you down to earth. And so it's something that you can never conquer. And I think if you can survive the toughest markets, you'll do great in that 5, 10 year point where the market is ready to give you a bonus, a gift, a retirement money. If you're there with experience during those times, those are the times that you wait for. Till then, hang in there, don't lose too much money. Try to make your, I don't know, for me, I try to aim to make a couple of grand a day. you know Try to not lose more than a couple of grand a day. Like, keep in that zone in a market which is not that happening. But as soon as things start going happening, you got to step on it. Then everything changes.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, it's been fun talking to you. I want to respect your time. I know you're working and still keeping an eye on the markets while we're doing this and everything. So,
Yeah.
um, no, I very much
It's an
appreciate.
addiction. It's an addiction. It takes me about 2 or 3 days on vacation to get out of the market into my head. But then once I'm out, I don't want to come back. I'm just like, oh, now I'm on vacation. But it takes me 2 or 3 days to like just stop thinking about what's happening, how much money my friends are making, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Well, and your words of wisdom as far as yeah, just it always comes down to managing risk and making sure you can survive and stay in the game. Yeah,
For
that's the
sure.
bottom line to all of it. Because yeah, if you get killed, you're not there for the big paydays. So
Exactly, exactly. And it's not like poker. I say it's not like a sport. It's not like poker. You know, it's like Steve Curry, right? He's taken so many shots from the three-pointer line and from around there that if you wake him in the middle of the night and make him do it, he will do it because it's just the 10,000 hours he's put into it.
mhm.
And that's what it's like. But it doesn't mean that the first time he reaches the NBA final that he won't be nervous. But the second time he reaches the NBA final, he will be way less nervous. So you have to, if you went through COVID and you're like, oh man, I didn't kill it, it's because that's the first time you've seen a market like that.
Yeah.
But the next time when you see the market like that, you will do way better, right? And so for me, it was the same thing. I saw a few crazy markets, and when COVID came out, I was like, yeah, I know this market. I know how crazy it can be. I am prepared. I'm not nervous. All that goes out of the window at that time. So, I feel like everyone thinks that, oh my God, I didn't kill it in COVID. Like, I've seen so many people making so much money. Why didn't I do it? And I'm like, you have to go through this process once. Second time, you'll be ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Experience counts, that's for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Nishant, thank you for taking the time today, man. Very much enjoyed it.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. It was a great conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I'll have to have you back on sometime because this has been fun.
For sure. Anytime.
Cool. And everybody that's listening, I wanted to let you know I very much appreciate the fact that you're taking time out of your day to listen to the podcast and learn and grow as a trader. Not just chasing trades all day, but actually working on yourself. So that's cool. But keep up the good work. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. Nishant, again, thank you for being here. And everybody, we'll see you on the next episode of the Consistent Profits Podcast. Talk to you soon. I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. If you did, make sure to subscribe, share this with your friends. Also, feel free to share it on your social media channels. And lastly, make sure you visit InsideOutTrading.com, where we focus on you, the trader, because you are the most important part of your trading. And when you get the consistent part of trading down, the profits become easy. Thanks again, and tune in to the next episode of the Consistent Profits Podcast. Cheers.